Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new video. This is all about the modern curriculum writing process, and really specifically, it's about a tool that we've developed called the Modern Curriculum Writing Workbook. This will hopefully keep everything in one location and allow us to streamline the process of curriculum writing a little bit for anybody who's developing a new course or revamping an old course. We have the opportunity to get this all in one location for you and provide some neat little tools that you can use to speed up that process of writing. So we're going to go ahead and take a look. I'm going to outline just a generic course and just show you sort of the process that it goes behind all this. And if you have any questions, again, as always, you can feel free to reach out or check the Edge website for any tutorials or tips. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and look at the information section of our workbook. Let's go ahead and just navigate through here real quick and take a look at all the individual parts and pieces so that you understand what we're doing at each given step. So I'm just going to give you sort of a sky-high view real quick. So first up is information. This is just general course information, whether that's a course description or a building, where it's located, the number of credits, if it's like at a high school or middle school level, what does it look like, what is the feel of the course. So this is overall general information that is going to be on tab number 1. You're going to navigate using the tabs down here. Number 2, the next step in that sequence is identifying the standards that you're teaching for the course. There's a couple things that are listed here that I just wanted to point out. One is this standard ID and description that comes, you can get that right from the SAS website or from our continuum of learning, if that's where you're pulling those standards from. Just make sure that you're providing the standard ID and the description that goes along with it. I'm going to provide an example in just a second. And then you're identifying whether it's a priority standard or a supporting standard. So you're not going to want to check both of these. It's just sort of one or the other. Category is going to be sort of the category that it falls in. So I know like in mathematics, we have geometry or statistics. That's the subject category. That's what's going to go here. So if it's a reading or if it's writing, so whatever it is, whatever category it falls into, we use that identification later on anyway. So the last thing is this idea of a choice board or a learning plan or both. Some of these we want to, if they're a priority standard, we're going to be including learning plans for some of them. So we want to make sure that we're identifying where we're going to have a learning plan. This doesn't mean that you will have a learning plan or that you already have one. This just means that there's a possibility that there's one that's going to be developed for it. And we're going to talk about where to link those later. So we'll get there in just a second when we start going through an example. Scope and sequence. You're going to outline what the course looks like. So this is almost directly from a syllabus that you would be pulling. We have a unit ID, so like Unit 1 or Unit A, whatever your sequencing looks like. A description of the unit, so what are the overall goals and purposes of the learning that's going on. The standards that are associated with it, so the multiple standards that are going to be associated with that individual unit, and then the duration. So is it going to take a week? Is it going to take 5 days? Is it going to take 10 days? Is it going to take an entire marking period to finish that one? Whatever the estimated duration is, that's just a good piece of information to have. And then for proficiency scales, this area right here is grayed out, and it's actually protected, so you won't be able to edit it. But there's something cool that happens from the standards portion here. We need proficiency scales for every one of our priority standards. So in order to make this process a little bit easier, we have them filtering directly into here from that step number 2. So as soon as you identify a priority standard, that priority standard gets shifted over to this tab as well. And then you're going to be able to go down through, use the proficiency scale template, which is right up here, force a copy, and then you're going to link it right here as well. So that is the proficiency scale list that you'll end up having for the course. Then we get into some inventory of these are going to be things like textbooks. Are they online programs that we use? Are there online resources that we use? They're not necessarily we're not including things like pre-assessments. We're not including things that we create that are built like learning plans or choice boards. That doesn't go on here. This is like purchased or open source programs that we buy or use online. Custom digital content, common printed resources. So like I said, textbooks, workbooks, anything like that is going to go on here. We need to make sure that we get all of those items, all of those resources for a course approved, all the materials approved for the course before we start running it. And then resources. This is where we are going to be bringing in things like a learning plan. So we title the resource, we give it a description. The type, is it a learning plan, a choice board, a pre-assessment, post-assessment, or is it something else that's just relevant to the course that you want to make sure that you include? So these are typically going to be our items that we're including for instruction and assessment resources, whereas in this inventory is going to be instructional materials inventory. So the resources, you provide a link directly to that resource, and then the standards that it might be associated with. That's pretty easy if you're pulling that, again, from that first tab when we talked about if it's a learning plan or a choice board and we're linking it, we want to make sure that we do include that there. So those are the 6 steps of the curriculum writing workbook of how to get from step number 1 of information the whole way to the end of resources. When you are finished with each tab, what you will end up doing is just so, one, you can keep track to see if you're on track to get things done. If you click this little checkbox, it'll fill up on this first page. It'll show the completion bar. So if I go to the next tab and click that checkbox, you'll see that now steps 1 and step 2 are now filled in. So this is just a quick and easy way for you to see the progress of your course writing and your curriculum writing in that specific area or content area. So steps 1 and step 2, we're going to go ahead and uncheck those. We're not just quite done with those. And now I'm going to roll into an example. We're just going to pull one standard in. I know that it would typically be more than that. Since we took a look at, or since I taught computer science, we're going to go ahead and just pick computer science. So I'm going to go ahead and start off on the information tab. But before I start changing or editing anything, I want to make sure that I force copy.